So hello guys, coming to this diagram. This diagram will give you the complete picture of about a Spark architecture. You can see a Spark architecture. You see this diagram. This look very interesting diagram, isn't it? This like a orbit you have, or just like a moon. It's look like. The first layer of this architecture, you can say, is a Spark core architecture. A Spark core. So when you're going to install the Spark, by default you are going to get a Spark core. So this is called as the Spark core. Okay, this Spark cores will going to support different types of languages. It can support Python, it can support Java, it can support R programming, it can support Scala. This is called as a Spark core element. And here if you see this diagram, you can find two important components here, right? You see this diagram, you can find two important components. What are these? It is having main memory, and what is this? It is having the hard disks, right? So it means that the Sparks are going to use two important elements. One is for the main memory, obviously. Second is hard disk. So here Sparks use main memory to speed up the processing, because every transformation is happening only on the main memory, right? So processing will happening only in the main memory. To speed up the processing, you are going to use what? In memory processing. So that's why here the Spark is called as in memory processing. So this is the important components of the Sparks, and this is called as polyglot, right? You see this diagram, this is called as Scala, because Spark support Scala, the Spark support Python, the Spark support Java, isn't it? So it support different types of languages. Already we discussed that. This is the second layer of your Apache Sparks, which can support different types of core programming languages. Okay. Now my question is that what if suppose you are not good in programming, you are not good in Java, you are not good in R programming, then will you use a Spark? Of course you can use a Spark. The Sparks will give you features of SQL interface. If you know SQL queries, you can do SQL stuff things, and you can get the result from the Sparks. So this Sparks will going to support you different types of libraries we have. Okay, so it support SQL, Apache SQL. This is called as Apache SQLs, where you're going to create tables, and from that you're going to get the lot of queries. You're going to process your data. Processing of data will take place. Okay, so it's going to support Apache SQL. So if you don't know Java, if you don't know Python, don't worry, even you can use a Spark with the help of Apache Spark SQLs. Okay, and here this is the important libraries used by built-in Apache Sparks. So this is a very special libraries. If you don't know Java, if you don't know Python, if you don't know R programming, you can use Apache Sparks SQL, and you can do the processing. Also we have called as streaming, right? Live streaming. You can perform live streaming using Spark streaming. So if you have a live data, right? If you're taking data from the Flume, right? Flume is what? Injection. You're getting data from the Flume, or you're taking data from the Kafka. This is called as Kafka. Okay, Kafka. This is called as Flume. So if you're taking data from the Kafka and Flume, we can do a live streaming. Live streaming of data can take place, and you can do analyzing on the live stream of data, just like a credit card transaction, right? If you want to know the history of customers, if you want to know whether this transaction is fraud transaction, or whether this transaction is genuine transaction, you can go for the live streaming, right? So live streaming can be supported by the Spark streaming. So here it means you are taking data from different sources, and then you are processing the streaming and getting the results, and that results you can store back to the different database, and different sources you can store the result of the live streaming. So here it means you are taking data from the different source and giving as input to live streaming. You process them, getting result, store back them to SDFS, or store back them to the Cassandra. Anywhere you can store that results. So live streaming is supported by the Spark. Here this is called as MLlib. Already I discussed, right? MLlib. MLlib is also important libraries which is present in Apache Sparks, we can perform machine learning algorithm, right? If you want to perform supervised algorithm or unsupervised algorithm, we can use machine libraries algorithm. We have also GraphX, okay? So this GraphX nothing but a graphical representation of data, right? Suppose you know that you learn about graph theory, right? Just like graph theory, we have edges, right? We have a node like this, right? We have a relationship. Suppose you say this is a Bignan, suppose say this is a Bignan CAC, suppose this is called as Bignan IT, okay, and suppose this is called as Bignan EC. Suppose we have three nodes are there, then what is the relationship between CAC and IT? You can find relationship between CAC and IT. What is the relationship between IT and EC department? You can find relationship between EC department. What is the relationship between EC and CAC department, right? Like this, we are going to represent them in the forms of graphical representation. It means that all the data will be represented in the forms of graphical representation, and based on the relationship, we are going to get the results at very high speeds, right? So nowadays, most of the companies like Facebook or you say Google, they are representing data in the forms of graph theory, in the forms of graphical representation. Why? Because it will going to give you result very faster, right? If you want to go for search engine and if you are searching something else, all the data will be represented in the forms of the graph, and that will find the relationship. From relationship, you are going to get the results. So this is for that they are going to use GraphX, okay? The graph is also one kind of libraries we have in the Sparks, and using this one you can do fast processing to get the results, okay? So nowadays it is used for the most of the companies who are going to represent their data in the forms of graph, in the forms of node, edges, relationship, and you are going to get the going to get the results. Take another example also. Suppose we have airport is there. Let me say we have say Bijawara airport is there, Bijawara airport. Then we have Delhi airport is there. Suppose we have Bombay airport. So what I did, I represented them in the forms of graph, and I want to know how many flights are moving from Bijawara to Delhi and from Delhi to Bijawara. I can easily get the information, right? If I'm going to see both the relationship. Similarly, if I want to find out how much flights are moving from Bijawara to Bombay and from Bombay to Bijawara, I can easily get the information. If I want to find out how much flights are moving from Bombay to Delhi and from Delhi to Bombay, I can easily find the information, isn't it? So it means that you are representing the information in the forms of graph, and which is very much important to access information at very high speeds, at very high speed rate. That's why here the graphics are widely used by a lot of companies where they can represent data in the forms of graph. Even for Amazon.com, all of the data they are going to place in the forms of graphical representation only. That's why here to perform processing on GraphX, okay, this Sparks will provide the features. Apache Sparks will give you graphics libraries, and by using these libraries we can perform all this data which is represented in the forms of graphical representations, okay? So these are the important libraries we have, okay, in Apache Sparks. What are the libraries we have? We have Spark streaming, we have a Spark SQL which can provide SQL interface, a Spark streaming who can provide streaming of data, live data can be stream out, and you are going to get the result immediately. Then we have MLlib which can perform machine learning algorithm. Then we have GraphX who can perform all graphical representation of the data can be processed immediately. Then we have Tachyon. Already we talked about Tachyons. It is just like a SDFS which can store data, and they can perform read-write operation very fast. So Tachyon is very faster than SDFS, right? Because most of the if you want to perform read and write operation at very high speed, 200 times better than SDFS, 300 times better than than SDFS, you can use Tachyon, because Tachyons will give you 200x speed for reading. For reading, how much speed? 200x speed for the reading, and 300x speed for what? For the writing. For the writing, this much speed is high. Then what compared to SDFS? So in SDFS, if you see SDFS, this much speeds you are going to get by using Tachyons. So 200 times better than SDFS for reading operation, 300 times better than what in writing operation than the SDFS. So here what happens, these Tachyons will provide you more fast accessing speed compared to the SDFS. Okay, this is called as the Tachyon libraries you are using for what this is called as all libraries using in the Spark. Then if you come into this next figure you see here, this is a stand-alone mode. What mode it is going to call as? It is called as stand-alone mode in Apache Spark. And what is stand-alone mode? You see here, this is flamingo bird. If you see flamingo bird, this represent it is a standalone mode. It means we can run this Sparks without using any clusters, right? You can run in your laptop, you can use your file and you can process them standalone, or you can install in any without using yarn. We can process them and you can get the results. That is called as what? Standalones here. We can use in a local, this is called local file systems, just in a local file system for testing purpose. So I can install the Sparks local file system and I can run it, and I can use for the testing, and for testing and learning purpose I can use a Spark for testing and learning project. For that I can use a local file system. I can use, let's say, local mode. This is called as what mode? It is going to call as local mode. So I can use a Sparks in a local mode also for testing and learning purpose. Then we have, if you see the next one, we have, this is called as this diagram, this is called as yarn. Called as what? Yarn. It means I can use cluster manager. What cluster manager I can use? The yarn. So if I'm going to integrate a Spark with Hadoop, so yarn can be what? Yarn can be used as a cluster managers here, and this is called as Mesos. This is going to call as what? The Mesos. Called as what? Mesos. Mesos is also what? Mesos is also called as the resource negotiator, right? So it is a cluster managers. So here it will give you yarn if you are going to use as a cluster managers, or you can use Mesos as a cluster managers. So if you're using Mesos, means you have to independently you have to install the Mesos, right? And you can use along with the Spark. Or if you want to use with Hadoop, you are going to get what? You are going to get the yarn. A yarn can use as what? You can use as the cluster managers. Okay. Now here, this is the figure you're going to see here. What does it mean? This one, this implies it is called as zookeeper. What is going to call as zookeeper, right? Call as what keeper? Zookeeper. What is use of zookeeper? Zookeeper is nothing but it is administration, right? It is admin. It is admin who can monitor the machines, how machines are working. The machines are working in a properly or not. Just like admin, system admin, you can say. Here the zookeeper is just behave like admin. You know that we have node, right? Name node. I think you know about name node, right? Know about the name node. This name node. Now this name node is very important because name node is called as master node. If name node getting fail, then all of your clusters will going to get failures. All data nodes not going to work. Nothing is going to work out. So we have to keep this name node always alive. So to keep this name node always alive, we are using one more node which is called as standby node. A standby name node. What is going to call as a standby name node? You are going to use a standby name node. So how many nodes are going to use here? Going to use two nodes. One is name node, one is standby node. So if name node is getting failure, the standby node is going to work in the place of the name node. So it is just like a replacement. So we have to keep this name node always alive, because the name node will have a data called as what data? Metadata. So if metadata will be lost, then everything is going to collapse in the clusters. So you have to keep this name node always alive. So to keep this name node always alive, we need to have zookeeper, right? You are going to have what keepers? A zookeepers. What zookeepers will do? The zookeepers will monitor this machine, which is called as name node machine. So here this name node and a standby node must register to the zookeeper. We have to register the name node and a standby node to the zookeeper. So once it's registered, zookeepers know that okay, name node and standby node is both are registered to them. So here the name node have to send some information to zookeeper that I am alive, I am working as a name node. So you have to give a status to the zookeeper. The zookeepers know that now name node is working fine, name node is taking care about other celebs. Now what happens if name node is getting failure? If name node is getting failure, then a standby node start sending a message to zookeeper that I am alive. Now I am the main name node. I am taking care of name node. I am working as a name node. Okay. So this information is what will update to the zookeeper. The zookeeper is always will have communication with the machine. Which machine is alive? Which machine is not alive? If his name node is not alive, then the name node is not going to send any message to zookeepers. So at that time zookeeper understand that something happened to the name node, and by that time a standby name node will start communicating with zookeeper by sending the live data, right? Live information to zookeeper that I am alive, I am taking care of name node, I am working as a name node. So it means that zookeepers will have a proper communication to all the machines to keep the machines more reliable. to manage all the machines to more reliably, because you are working in a cluster manager. In cluster managers, we have n number of machines, and every machine should be taken care by whom? Take care by the zookeepers. That's why we have zookeepers on the top of this machine. Standalone machine, we have zookeepers. So zookeepers is here, right? You can see zookeepers here. So what is the use of the zookeepers? The zookeepers just behave like a system admin who will communicate to the machine whether the machines are working in a proper way or not. For that, what are you going to use? We are going to use as zookeepers, right? So this is a very good architectures of what of your this Apache Sparks. And if you see here, this Apache Sparks will accept data from different sources we have. It doesn't mean that the Apache is going to get data only from one source, not at all. The Apache Sparks will take data from different sources, such as it takes data from MongoDB. Okay, MongoDB you take data. It takes data from RDBMS to process structured data. It takes data from Neo4j. This Neo4j is what is example of graphical representation of data. Just we discuss about graphical representation of data. So here Neo4j is what is example of graphical representation of data. So it will take data from the Neo4j. It will take data from HBase. It take data from different Hadoop, right? No, from Hadoop and different from S3. So it means that the Sparks will going to collect the data from the multiple sources, such as it takes data from Neo4j, takes data from the MongoDB, it takes data from the RDBMS, it takes data from the different from the SDFS. So it will collect the data from the different sources. So this will give you the overview of your Apache Sparks, right? The Apache Sparks use a Spark core which support multiple programming languages such as Python, R programming, you can say Scala and Java programming. It supports different libraries we have, such as Spark SQL. You have stop streaming, MLlib. You can have GraphX. You can have Tycoons. Then if you see, it can work in different modes. It works in standalone mode, local mode, right? It uses different types of cluster managers. It can use either Yarn or it can use Mesos. Mesos is what? It is also cluster managers, right? And it accepts data from the different multiple sources. And it can also perform what is streaming. It can perform the that is called a Spark streaming of the data. Okay. So this is the very peculiar diagram for the Apache Spark. So by this diagram we can understand very much likely that this is very much that the Sparks use two important components just like RAM and hard disks. Okay. Using this diagram we know that this Apache Sparks will have a lot of features, a lot of essential components we have. It accepts data from the multiple sources and it has different levels of libraries we have. Now coming to this Apache Spark components. These are the important components that you are going to have in Spark. One is called as Spark core. I already told that if you are very good in programming languages, you can use a Spark core because it supports many programming languages. It supports Python, it supports R programming, it supports Java, it supports I call it Scala, right? You can use Scala, all these things, and you can develop an application by using the Spark core. So once you download the Spark framework, you can get this Spark code there itself. And use Spark SQL, right? If you're not good in Java, if you're not good in Python, if you're not good in R programming, definitely you can use what Spark SQL for that. It is used for the SQL people, right? You can write SQL queries and get processing of your data, and you can get the result in a beautiful way, and you can do all kind of analyzing using a Spark SQL. Next we have called Spark streaming. This is called live streaming, right? Because you want to analyze data on live data must be analyzed. Suppose I'm doing some credit card transaction and I want to know whether my transaction is genuine or not genuine. For that, the bank people has to send OTP for me, and OTP must be verified on lively. So to perform live streaming of data, we must use a Spark streaming, right? So you are getting data from different sources for Spark streaming, right? The Spark streaming must be performed to perform a live streaming of the data. Then you have a Spark MLlibs. This is used for the machine learning algorithm, right? So if you want to perform machine learning algorithm, these tools must be used to support supervised and unsupervised learning, right? If you want to perform any algorithm, because machine learning algorithms use lot of iteration, we have to do a lot of iteration, first iteration, second iteration, obtain number of iterations. So to perform a good iteration, this Spark MLab can support these languages. This will give you better result with very high speed fast processing. That's what we're going to call it Spark MLab. Then we have Spark GraphX. This is used for graphical representation of data. Suppose if you are representing data in the forms of graph like this, just like a node and edges, and we have a relationship like this, right? Suppose this is I, suppose this is U, suppose this is U, I1, right? And if you have a relationship between them, for that what happens? You can use the GraphX representation, and there you can get the result from the, you can process the data and you get the result very fastly using the Spark GraphX. And then we have a Spark R. This Spark R is still going on. The research is going on the Spark R, because the Spark R is most powerful tool used for analytics. Most of the data scientists or data analytics, they're using what tools? Spark R tools. Still the people are doing analyzing on the Spark R tools. So these are the important components of the Spark. So once you download the Spark, you're going to get, these are different components you're going to have. You're going to have a Spark Core, which can support many different languages. You're going to have a Spark SQL, which is used for a Spark SQL peoples, a Spark streaming for live streaming of data, a Spark MLab for machine learning algorithm, a Spark GraphX to perform representation of the graphical data, and a Spark Air to perform better and better analytics operation. So these are the components you are going to have with Apache Spark. Coming to very beautiful architectures here, that is called as a Spark architecture, right? And to understand these architectures, already we have to know about the previous example, right? See, when you are going to write any program, right? Suppose you are writing any program, the program must need two important things, isn't it? What they need? They need two important things. One thing is they need driver, called as the driver they need. Second thing, what? They need executor. Called as what? They need executor. These are two important components you require to drive the program. To drive the programs, you must have driver, and to execute the program, you must have executor. This executor is also called as container. What is going to call as? You simply call as container. What is going to call as? Containers. Okay. Now you see here driver program. The driver program is always on the master node. Where you are going to place the driver program is going to call as the master node, because driver program is the one who is going to push the logic, okay, logic to different machine. Whatever logic you are going to write, that logic has to pass to different machine. For that we have to use what program? Driver program. The driver program is going to have a logic, and that logic has to push to different machines. Okay, just now previous example, what logic we written? We written some logic, isn't it? What logic you written? Just like RDD, you written filter 1, okay, and what you written? Number 1. Then using what functions? Map functions. What is logic? Logic is to find the values, find the values, suppose less than 10. This is a logic which you written. Okay, now this logic what you written here, it has to be pushed away to the driver. Driver is the one who can drive the program. Okay, so you are pushing this logic, right? Logic to different machine. Here worker node means what? Here means worker node is nothing but it is called as data node. Okay, in Spark it is going to call as what? It is going to call as worker node. But what is a worker node? Worker node nothing but it is just like a data node 1. You can call it data node 1. You can call it data node 2. This is meaning of what? Worker node. Am I correct? So this worker node is nothing. It is a behave like a data node. In a Spark you are going to call as worker node. In Hadoop it is going to call what node? It is going to call as data node. Right. So where you going to get the data? Data will be available always in the worker node. In worker node you are going to find the data. In worker node you are going to find the data. Okay. So in data will be in disk, hard disk, right? You have hard disk. Here we will have a data initially. We will have a hard disk. We have data initially here. So initially where is data? Data is here only initially. So initially you are going to place data where? Into the worker node, into the hard disk of the worker node, hard disk of the worker node. Okay. Now we are writing some of the program we are writing, That is a driver. For that you need a driver, and driver is running in one machine. Okay, that is what machine you are going to call as master machine or master node. Master node is nothing but, in master node you are going to have a driver, right? You are going to have a driver, right? Where you are going to have a driver? Driver nothing but in master node you are going to have a driver, and in this Spark SC. What is SC? SC is going to call it a Spark context. Call it what context? The Spark context. The Spark context is the entry point of the Spark program. Without a Spark context, you are not going to run any of the application. So if you want to run the application of the Spark, you must have the Spark context, and a Spark context always reside in the master node. Where it reside? It reside in the master node along with the driver. So inside the driver, you find what? You find the Spark context. Keep it in mind. Inside the driver, you are going to have a Spark context. The Spark context will going to take care of everything. Okay, so here you are writing the logic. Where you are going to write the logic? Logic you written in the driver program, and this logic you are going to push where you are going to push to the worker, different workers. So when you are going to push the logic to different workers, that time it become task. You are going to call it what? You are going to call it a task. You are going to call it the task. What is task? Whatever logic we are writing here, and if that logic is going to push to the main memory, that is in main memory, that in memory is going to call as what? Is going to call as task only. So this is called as main memory portion. This is called as main memory. This is called as a main memory. Okay, keep it in mind. And this is portion is going to call what memory? It is going to call as the main memory. Okay, now you remember this concept. When you are going to create a RDD, what is RDD? Resilient distributed data sets. At the time of creation of RDD, it means that we are just pushing the data from hard disks of worker node to the memory. It means that your data is loaded into the memory. That memory is nothing but here you find executor. Executor means what? The executors will be in main memory, which can execute your program. Executors, right? We have executors. What is task? Task nothing but logic. The logic should be executed. Whatever logic you are going to write, that must be executed. So logic is going to call it. What is the logic written here? Find the values which is less than 10. So find the values less than 10 is nothing but it's become a task in the case of memory. So when pushing this logic to the main memory, that time it is going to call it a task. The task indicate that whatever logic you are writing in the main memory, that is going to call as what? That is going to call as task. So here it means that when you are going to create a RDD, when you are going to hit the RDD, whatever data is available in the worker node, that is going to push into main memory, that is going to push into the main memory. This is the main memory. It means that your logic is loaded into the main memory and its execution going to be started. Okay. Similarly, we have data nodes here as a worker node. So we have data in worker node in hard disks. When you are going to create RDD, what happens? All the data has pushed into the main memory. In main memory, logic is written, and this logic is going to call as a task. Okay, so it means that this driver program will pushing your logic to the main memory, that is called as a task, and tasks will be executed by the executor. The executors must have some capacity of your RAM. Suppose RAM may be 1 GB, say by default 1 GB RAM, and you can use one processor core. Okay, suppose 1 GB RAM, you can use one processor core for processing of that task. Now in between what happens is that you are going to use cluster manager. This cluster manager indicate we can use either yarn or can use Moses. Okay, suppose I am using yarn. What I am using is I am using the yarn. The yarn is the person who can give the number of executors. How many executors I need to execute my task. Who will provide this executor? The yarn will going to provide the executors, because yarn is called as a resource negotiator. Okay, so if suppose I am writing some logic in a Spark, and I am telling the yarn, hey yarn, I want 2 executors. Then who will going to provide me executor? Yarn is going to give the executors. Or I see I'm writing logic in a Spark. I'm telling to the yarn, please give me 3 executors. Who will going to give 3 executors? The yarn is going to provide the 3 executors. It means that we are negotiating with yarn only. Depends upon the requirement. The yarn will going to provide you the number of executors. So here the yarn is what? The yarn is behave like a cluster managers. Okay, you can use either Moses or you can use either the cluster managers. Okay. So yarn is what? Yarn is behave like a cluster managers. So this diagram represent that, just like our previous example, you writing the logic. Okay, we are storing the data into the worker node in a data disk. When you creating the RDD, your data is pushed into the main memory where you can find the executor in the main memory. Data is pushed in where you can find the executor. Whatever logic you are writing into the driver program, that logic is what? That logic is going to call as a task. The task must be executed by the executors. And who can provide the executors? The yarn is going to provide the executors, which is called as the cluster manager. The cluster manager is going to call as what? Yarn. So this yarn is the most powerful person who are responsible to provide you number of executors. If you want 2 executors, he will provide 2 executors. If you want 4 executors, he can provide 4 executors. So depending upon the availability of the resources, the yarns will provide you the number of executors. Okay. So in this way, now here what happens? The executors will execute it will process the data. It will process the data, and after processing, what happens? The result will going to be processed. You are going to get the result, and what the result? What after that? The result will be submitted to the driver. The drivers will get the results. See the things. First, drivers are pushing the logic to define worker node. So define worker nodes will getting the logics, pushing to the worker node, assign the works. The worker nodes, what it will do? It try to execute your logic into the main memory. Okay, main memory, the logic is going to be executed, and then you are going to get the results. That results will be stored back to the driver. The driver is going to get the result back. Okay, so drivers, the person who is going to get the result also. And if you want to write some logic to the driver, that I want to store the result into SDFS, you can write logic onto driver. If you want to store result in Cassandra, you can write logic to the driver program. So the driver programs will going to drive the programs. If you want to store result in driver program, well fine, you can store the result in driver program. Or else if you want to store result into some other place like SDFS or Cassandra, you can write logic into driver program. From that, the result will be stored into the Cassandra, or it will be stored into the other SDFS. Okay. So here ultimately who can drive the program? Your Spark contest. Where is Spark contest residing? It resides only in the master node. Where is the master node? We have a driver program. Now once your processing is completed, what you can do? We have to stop this. You have to stop the Spark contest. Otherwise, what happens? The driver is still running, and they will try to consume the resources. So, in order to optimize the resource, in order to use the resource most effectively, after processing of your data, after processing of your element, you must stop the Spark contest. Otherwise, your still Spark contest programs will be running, and drivers will keep on running, and it will consume a lot of resources unnecessarily. So as a good programmer, what we can do is that we write the logic. At the end of the processing, you write a stop dot a Spark contest. So what are you going to write? A stop dot a Spark contest. What does it mean? It means that after the end of the processing, my Spark contest should be closed. Okay, otherwise the drivers will keep on consuming the resources. So driver is the one who are going to push your logic into the worker nodes, and this executor means that this area is for main memory. This area indicates what? It's the main memory. In main memory, the processing is taking place. This area indicates main memory. In main memory, what happens? The processing is taking place. And after processing, we are going to get the result. The result will send back to the driver, and drivers is holding the results. Right. So this is the very good architecture about the Spark. You can understand how the drivers are driving the program and how the result is being stored into the Apache Spark. This is the called as Spark streaming architecture. You see the Spark streaming architectures. Already we talk about Spark streaming. What is Spark streaming? Spark streaming in the sense that we are going to process the live data. That is called as what? Spark streaming. So if you see this diagram, these Spark streamings are getting data from different sources. One is called as Kafka. From Kafka is getting the data. One is from SDFS. From SDFS getting the data. One is from Twitter. From Twitter is getting the data. One is for Amazon Nest. From Amazon Nest getting data. One is for Flume. From Flume is getting data. It means that these Spark streaming are receiving data from multiple sources. And after receiving, what you'll do, you'll try to create the batches of input data. It create a small batches, which is also called as D stream. Which is also called what is stream? It is also called as D stream. What is D stream? It means a small batches it will be created. So small batches, this is also called as micro batches. What is batch is going to call as micro batches. So micro batches will be created, and then it's given to the Spark engine. The Spark engine is going to process your data. Now after processing, what happens? It's going to provide you batch process of data. The processing will be take place, and then the result will be stored into different files. It is stored into Kafka. Result may be stored into SDFS. The result may be stored into Cassandra. The result may be stored into dashboard. It may be ready. So here what you're doing is that you are receiving data from different sources, and then Spark stream will process the data into a number of batches, that is called as D stream or micro batches, and then what happens after processing, the result will send back to different formats, different data collections. Okay, data will be sent to SDFS, data will be sent to Cassandra, and data can be sent to dashboard. It means the result can store into different distributed databases. Okay, it can be used either it can be stored in SDFS, either it is stored in Kafka, either it is stored in Cassandra. This is called as live streaming. So live streaming is very much famous today network, because everybody want to process data immediately, either in banking sector, you say, if you say stock market, if you want to see how stock markets are going up and down, we have go for live streaming, or you have to go for health departments, they're using live streaming data, or if you want to see some live video, just like live matches, for that also they are going for live streaming of data. So live streaming data means real time, it's what processing, it's a real time processing which can give result immediately. That's called as what? A Spark streaming. So Spark streaming is very fast, because Spark streaming also use what? Using memory processing. Every processing is done only in the memory. That's why the speed is very fast and give result in a better and reliable way. Next, this is called as a distributor of Sparks. We have different distributors of Sparks. You see, Databricks is the main distributor of the Spark, because who has created the Spark? It is basically Databricks. Okay, this Matthew Jaria, these are the persons who are Databricks. Now you can find Hortonworks, these are distributors. We have Oracle's Cloudera, Stratio, SAP, Blue Data, DataStax. These are distributors we have, and these are the applications where you are using Apache Sparks. These are different applications. We can use Apache Sparks here. You can use it in Alpine application. You can see Dito application, Platform application, Apervi application, Type-C application. These are multiple applications that are using Apache Spark for the real-time processing. So we have different distributors are there for Apache Spark, and we have different applications which are used, which are using the Apache Spark. Okay. Now coming to the resilient distributed data sets. So you will discuss about RDD in details. What about RDD? Already I have given you brief idea about the resilient distributed data set in beginning of the classes, that what is RDD and how RDD is going to save number of input output operations. Okay, that is resilient distributed data, and what is meant by resilient, what is meant by distributed, what is meant by data sets, that things already we discussed in our previous section, but here going to discuss in details about the RDD. Okay. Now what is mean of RDD? RDD is the fundamental building blocks of Apache Sparks. Very building blocks. Without RDD, the Apache Spark is nothing. If there is no RDD, the Apache Sparks cannot do anything else. So it is a basic building block of the Spark, just like the heart of the Spark. So if you want to process data, you must use RDD. Without RDD, the processing cannot be taking place inside the Spark. So Spark is what? It is a building block of the Spark. And here, what is Spark? Store data in RDD format. What is RDD format? It means that the Sparks always store data in RDD format. It means all the data will be stored in which format? In RDD format only. It means data will be stored in main memory, and it will process in the main memory. So when you want to process data, it must be processed only in main memory. So we have a lot of transformations happening inside the main memory. And here, why RDD is required? What is RDD is required? See, when you're reading and writing data from file system, right? Every time if you take the hard disk, right? If you take the hard disk, right? I'm taking the hard disk, right? I'm reading data from the hard disk, keeping to main memory, keeping to the main memory, right? Again, after processing, again I'm sending data to the hard disk. Again I'm reading data from the hard disk. Again I'm putting to main memory. Again after processing, I'm keeping result into the hard disk. It means I'm doing what operation? Always I'm doing input output operation. Because of that, the speed is decreasing. the performance of the system is decreasing. Lot of input output operations will decline the performance result. The performance are getting degraded every time. So what happens is that we need to improve the performance. So much read-write operation happening on the file system. No, so much input output operations are happening. So that makes the performance degraded. So in order to avoid this one, what happens? You are going to use what? You are going to use RDD. The RDD will do operations on memory. It use in-memory processing, in-memory data processing. It means all data will be processed only inside the main memory. So if you process all the data inside the main memory, then you will have a very much minimum input output operations. You are going to get better fast processing speed. That's what happening in Spark. Sparks always use what? Always use a minimum input output operation. That is the RDD. RDD is a building block of this Spark. In RDD, what happens? All this operation, what happens? You are doing in memory only. When you are going to create RDD, it means that we are storing data inside main memory. It means that you are going to process data inside main memory only. So RDD you support only data stored in main memory. What is mean of RDD? RDD in the sense you say that RDD means data store and process inside main memory. Data is stored and processed inside where? Processed inside main memory, inside the main memory. This is a basic building block of your Apache Sparks. So whatever data you have, all the data will be processed. It will getting transformation inside the main memory and getting result from the main memory. That's why the speed of RDD is too much. Okay, it's very highly reliable speed you are going to get from the RDD, and it is also a fault tolerance. What is the special characteristic there? It is a fault tolerance. How we are going to achieve fault tolerance? With the help of replication factors. So if you are using replication factors, we can have a more fault tolerance. You can have a better fault tolerance. Okay, you can recover data from the other machines across the networks. Now you see how you can define RDD. RDD means is the primary data structures of Apache Sparks. They are fault tolerance, store data among multiple computers in the network. Already we discussed these 2 points. What is fault tolerance? What is fault tolerance? In RDD, what you are doing? We are creating RDD means we are storing data in a memory across multiple networks. It means a data will be stored in memory across multiple networks. And how you are going to achieve the fault tolerance? By using the replication factors. If you are replicating the same data across multiple networks, you are going to achieve the fault tolerance. Because of this nature, it is called as what? Resilient. What is resilient? Resilient means the fault tolerance. It is called as reliable. Your data is more reliable. We can recover data from the other machine. These features we have in the case of RDD. And also here, the same data are written into multiple execution nodes. So this is the failure. So how to get the failures? Because the same data you are going to write in multiple nodes. If one of the nodes are getting failure, then you are going to access the same data from other machines. So that makes you more fault tolerance. You are going to access data from other machines. So there is no question of worrying about the data. We are not going to lose data at any cost. You are going to have a data from other machines. Okay, and RDD does not need something like hard disk. That's what important things, right? It's not going to use hard disk always. RDD use hard disk only one time you can say. If you hit RDD, what happens is that whatever data reside in the hard disk, it will just copy into the main memory, immediately copy into the main memory, just fly to the main memory, immediately it's fly to the main memory. What does it mean? Just you hit RDD, all the data which reside in the hard disk immediately is going to the main memory. So in main memory you are going to have a data, and there you are going to process it. So in RDD is nothing to deal about the hard disk. Only at beginning, at the initial state, you are going to use hard disk, and later on you are going to do all manipulation operation only in the main memory. That's what the great thing about the resilient distributed data sets. And it needs only the RAM, because all processing happening only in the read only. That is called as random access memory. So here whatever processing you are going to doing in random access memory only, you are doing all kind of processing, right? All processing you are doing in random access memory. So the RAM is basically used for RDD. Okay, once you create RDD, then every data is copied to RAM, and from RAM you're doing processing, you're doing transformation, you're going to get result from the RAM, everything's happening from the RAM. That's why the speed is very fast and it involves less input output operations. Coming to the here, data can be loaded from any sources. Already we know that as per our diagram. We can load data from different sources. You can load data either from Hadoop, you can load from HDFS, you can load data from HBase, you can load data from the Hive, you can load data from SQL, you can load data from S3. It means much more. This Apache Spark will support multiple datas. It accepts data from different sources. It accepts data from Hadoop, it accepts data from Hive, it accepts data from the you can say from HBase, from Cassandra, from different file formats. So this Apache Spark is just like welcoming everyone, just like a guest. Everyone can come and visit to Apache Spark. Apache Spark will just facilitate it. It will going to facilitate the guest. So who is the guest here? All HDFS, you can say HBase, Cassandra, SQL, S3, these are all the guests of the Apache Spark. Apache Spark welcoming everyone and they'll give a nice treatment for them. They will ask you, okay, I'll process you very fastly. So these are the important features of what Apache Spark. And here they can process any data of type such as star. So this is a very important feature, right? Apache Spark will process any kind of data. It may be structured data, it may be semi-structured data, it may be unstructured data. So what happened Apache Spark here? Apache Spark welcome all kind of data here. You please structured data you can bring. Okay, you can bring unstructured data, you can bring semi-structured data, all data you will bring at one point, and it will accept data from different sources also. You can take data from HBase, you can take data from the Cassandra, you take data from the S3, from Amazon, all data will be welcomed by whom? By the Apache Spark, and then it will process them. So these are the advanced features of Apache Spark. And one more advanced features I would like to tell you. Now if in Hadoop what happens, if you see in the Hadoop, right? Hadoop, what happens? Suppose your size of the block is 128 MB. What is size of the block is given is 128 MB size of the block is given in Hadoop. Just for instance, I am telling. Size of the block 128. In block we have a data. In block we have a data. And suppose in memory we have the capacity of the memory is only you say only 100 MB. What is the capacity of main memory is 100 MB. That's all. Now see, this main memory capacity is less than the size of the block. In this case, if you want to execute this block into main memory, it's going to give an error. You cannot execute it. The Hadoop says there is error. Why error? Because the size of the block is what? Is greater than the size of the main memory. It means that your memory is having lower memory, we have low memory. In this case, the Hadoop will not allow you to run your program. But this is not case of Apache Spark. Even though Apache Spark will allow you to run this block into this main memory by using pipelining. They use concept called as pipelining. By using pipelining, they will allow run the block which is having higher than the main memory. By using what? By using the concept of pipeline. So this how this Apache Spark will support you. Even though you have a low memory, it support to it allow the data to store into main memory, even though your block is having greater than the lower memory, greater than the main memory. So this Apache will support you even though your block, you see here what happened, the block size is what? Greater than what? Greater than your memory size. What is memory size? Memory size is 100 MB. In this case, Hadoop say no. Hadoop say for me it is not possible. But same problem if you give it to Apache Spark, the block size is what? Greater than what? Greater than memory. Greater than memory. What the Apache Spark will do? You will say I will execute it. I will do it this operation. So this kind of features we have in Apache Spark, even though it will take care of your memory also. If your memory is low memory, it say I will manage. If memory is high memory, you will say I will manage. The Apache Spark will work out all kind of difficulties. It will try to work out with all kind of use cases. Now this is the very small features of RDD. Already we discussed last time about the features of RDD, but for your timing, fundamental of data structure of Spark. What is RDD? RDD is the fundamental block of Spark. Without RDD, it is not possible to write any program in Spark. So what is a Spark? A Spark is nothing but, you can say, it is a collection of RDD. It is a fundamental block of the Spark. So if you want to write an application program for RDD, you must create RDD. If you want to write application programs using a Spark, you must create a number of RDDs. What is RDDs? In memory computation. So what RDDs will do? RDDs use always RAM, random access memory, for computation, for transformation, okay, for processing. It always use the main memory. It always use the random access memory. It never use hard disks. The hard disks never used for processing, never used for computations. So but in the case of Spark, in the case of this RDD, what happens? RDD always use in memory computation. It does all computations using the random access memory. Automatic data rollback. So if something failure happens, what happens? It takes data from the other machine. It means it has more fault tolerance. Data will be rolled back. If data is not committed, data will be rolled back. In case of RDD. Also it has what? Multiple executable nodes. We know that what is RDD? A resilient distributed data set. What distributed? Distributed means data. Your data is distributed across multiple machines. The data is distributed across multiple machines in a network. In a networks, we have a different machines are lying. So we are going to push all the data into different machines. So distributed means what? In some machines we have some data, in some machines you have some data, in some machines you have some data, and all nodes are going to communicate among each others. Okay. So this will provide you the distributed environment. RDD is going to provide you distributed environments. It means your data is available across different machines, which will give you fault tolerance, where you can have a replication of data also, right? And what is fault tolerance means? Fault tolerance means that suppose if data is in one nodes, in data nodes 1, right? In data nodes 1, suppose block B1 is in data node 1. Now what you can do is that the same block 1 you can copy in data node 2. Data node 2 also you can copy in same block B1. This is called as what? Replication factor 1. Why? Because I copy only one times to other blocks. So this replication factor, how is going to help you? If this data node 1 is getting crashed out in Apache Spark, this is going to call as what? It's going to call as worker node. You can call as what node? You can call as a worker node. Both are same terminology but used in different context. Okay, this is going to call as what? Worker node. So if this is getting crashed, no problem. You can recover this block 1 from where? From data node 2. This is going to call as what? Fault tolerance. We have a more fault tolerance. But in the case of RDD. So RDD will provide you fault tolerance. RDD provide you distributed data sets. RDD will provide you automatic data rollback. It provides in memory computation because all computations is taking place inside the random access memory, and it is fundamental block of what? Fundamental block of the Spark. Now you may ask question about the memory computation and what is memory computation, right? Already we discussed. In memory computation means all the processing, all the transformation, all the computations will taking place only in the main memory. Which is main memory here? Random access memory is the main memory, right? So all the computations are taking place in the main memory. That is going to call as what? In memory computation. Because of memory computation, your Spark capability is very high. The Spark processing is very high because processing is taking place only in main memory and we have very less input-output operation. Next topic is lazy evolution. What is lazy evolution? That's what I mean to say. What is meaning of lazy evolution? To explain this one, let me take this scenario for you. Last time we create one RDD, right? What you create RDD? We have created one RDD is called as RDD. I'm taking the same example, RDD. That name of the RDD is number 1 RDD. And how I'm going to create? I'm creating a Spark context dot text file. Call is what file? I'm taking the text file, and the text file name is what I'm writing is bignan.txt is my text file. Am I right? Writing. Now I'm creating another RDD. That my RDD name is I'm writing is what? RDD I'm writing as a filter. I'm writing as a filter 1 is my another RDD. Okay. And what I'm writing here is I'm writing number 1. I'm writing the number 1. I'm writing here dot. Then I'm writing the map. In this map, I'm writing some logic. What I'm going to write? I'm writing some logic. Suppose logic is what? To find the values less than 10. This is my small logic I am writing. To find the values less than 10, I am writing some logic. Correct? Now, this is what? So here, when you are doing some kind of transformation, it means I am doing first filter. The filter will get result from it. It will depends on number 1. Depends on the number 1. Number 1 depends on the text. What is text file? Call is bignan.txt is my text file. Okay, it means that this f1 RDD depends on number 1 RDD. Number 1 RDD what? It depends on your text file. Now here what you doing? You are doing transformation. That's all. It means the transformation is only taking place, nothing else. We are not going to get any result. This is what happening. There is no result at all. If you do transformation, fine. It will in number 1 you can find all the text file. In filter 1 you can find this filtering. But what about the results? How I can get the results? You cannot get result unless you fire the action. If you want to get result, you fire the action. We just did the transformation, but you not did any actions. So unless you give action, we are not going to get any results. So actions is required. After actions only, you are going to get all kind of results. Just like I am just telling the rules. Suppose you want to go market. Okay, before going market, I am telling you, I am giving instruction to you. Okay, just sitting, I am giving instruction. If you go to market, you buy apple, you buy orange, you buy biryani, you buy clothes. I am giving lot of instruction to you. So you are writing all the instructions. If I go to market, I will buy apple, I will buy orange, I will buy clothes, I will buy biryani. You are writing step by steps. So when these actions will be completed? When you start going to market. After going market, you start purchasing apple, banana, clothes, biryani, and come to me and give it to me. Then only actions will be completed. Until unless what happen? You are just like a lazy fellow. Just like a lazy fellow. You are sitting and writing the rules. Same thing happening here also. These are all a lazy fellow because nothing will happen. Just you are doing transformation. But what is the result? So if you want to get result, what I will do is that I am going to write filter. I am going to write filter 1 dot collect. This collect is what? This collect is going to call as action. Going to call as action. This is called as action. This is going to call as what? Action I am going to have. And this filter 1 is what? The filter 1 is what? Filter 1 is my RDD. What is my filter 1? This filter 1 is my what? It is my RDD. This is my RDD. So I am going to give RDD dot collect. If I am going to give collect, then only I am going to get all this step. The filter is going to get from number 1. Number 1 is going to get from the bignan.txt, and I am going to get processing, and I am going to get the results. Unless everything is lazy fellow, nothing is happen. If you write this one, filter 1, number 1, nothing is happen to you. Nothing is happen unless until we have to fire the action. Action is required to get the results. Without action, everything is what? Everything is nothing. Nothing is happening to you. Nothing is happening here. Just you are giving an instruction only. Here just I am giving the instruction. If I am going to fire the action, then only all my instruction is going to be executed. So because of this, it is going to call as what? It is going to call as lazy evolution. What evolution is? Lazy evolution. Why lazy evolution? All transformation is going to be happen unless we are going to give action. If you are not going to give action, nothing is going to happen. So you see here, this what. So see, initially what happened in Fi, nothing is there. In number 1, nothing is there. Here nothing is. So in memory is what? In memory is nothing is there. If you say about memory, do you have anything? You say I have nothing. If you say number, if you have anything, you say I have nothing. If you say nothing, what happens is that because you are not giving any action. So once you give action, what Fi do? Fi will try to get the data from number 1. That number will going to get data from bignan.txt, and then bignan.txt will give to the number 1. The number will give to the F1, and F1 going to give you results. You are going to give the results. Okay. When this is going to happen? Once actions will going to be fired. Once you are going to implement the actions, everything they will start running very fastly. They become process. They become active. They want to acquire the result. They want to do the operations very fastly. So once you give the action, what happens? F1 will say, I need data. They will go to number. Number will say, I need data. Go to F beginner test. The beginner test will going to give number to number one. The numbers one will going to use transformation. Then number one going to give result to F1. The F1 going to give result to the what? Result to the driver, and drivers will give result. Okay. So this one is going to happen what? Because of action. If there is no action, it means that you are doing what? You are doing lazy evolution. Just lazy evolution. Just evolution. What did just you are telling the steps, nothing is happened. Even in memory also nothing is there. RAM nothing is there. Just you have given the step only. You have to do this step. But if you give action, then everything start in process. Everything will be in process. Memory is process. You get data. Everything coming on the screen, and you can see the results. So for that action is required. So RDD need two things. What RDD need? The RDD needs one thing is called as transformation. Call as what? I'm going to call as transformation. Call as transformation. And second is going to call as what? Second is going to call as what? Second is going to call as RDD. Sorry, second is going to call as what? Action. Going to call as what? Action. So you need to have two important things. One is called as transformation, and second is going to call as what? Action. So if transformations you are doing, unless you're going to call action, nothing is going to happen. So transformation means what? You just doing transformation, just like a lazy. It's a lazy evolution. And unless you're going to call the action, nothing going to happen. After calling actions, everything is going to happen. Everything going to get result from that. That's why because of this nature is going to cause what evolution? Lazy evolution. So when lazy evolution become active evolution? When you're going to call action. When you're going to call action, the lazy evolution become what evolution? Active evolution. They become very much active, just like running and getting result and giving to you. That's what going to call as the what? The lazy evolution. The lazy, if you want to make lazy evolution to active evolution, you must call the action. If actions will call, then you are going to get what evolution? You are going to get the active evolution. Unless it's a what evolution? It's a lazy evolution. And fault tolerance. Already you know about that. If for fault tolerance means what? The data will be duplicated across multiple machine, and if one machine getting crashed, you can recover data from the other machine. That is called as what? Fault tolerance. Because of this nature, it is called as RDD. It is called what? It is called as RDD. R for resilient, D for distributed, and D for data sets. Called as data sets. Now RDDs are immutable. This is very important things you understand. Once you data is stored in main memory, we cannot make any changes. Changes is not applied in case of RDD. Because of that, RDD is called as immutable. For example, see, if I am going to write very, instead of, see, in RDD there is no integer, float, data types, all these things are not there. Suppose if I am very I is equal to 0, what it indicates? It indicates that it is a integer data type. What data type? Integer data type. Because what values I indicated here? I given 0 is integer value. But here I can make some changes. If I am going to write I is equal to 1, what is the value of I now? I value is 1. If I say I is equal to 2, then what is the value of I now? The I is become 2. This is called as mutable. It is changeable. But here RDD is what? The RDD is immutable. What is immutable? We cannot change the value once it is going to store into the main memory. So for example, to make immutable, I am going to use one more word called as val. What I am going to use? I am going to use the word going to call as val. If I am going to val, I is equal to 0, I is equal to 0, and if I am going to write I is equal to 1, what happens? It will show an error. Why error? Because we cannot change the value of I. We cannot change the value of I. Why? Because it is immutable. RDD is immutable. So if you are going to write, this is suppose I is RDD. I am going to call as I is what? I is RDD. So the value of RDD cannot be changed. It cannot be changed. So if I am going to write I is equal to 1, it's going to display an error. If I am going to write I is equal to 2, again what happens? It's going to display an error. Why? Because it is immutable. Immutable means what? Not changeable. So once data is stored into main memory, you cannot make any kind of changes. That's why RDD is immutable in nature. RDD is what? Immutable in nature. Okay. Next important concept we're going to discuss about is what? Partitioning. What is meaning by term partitioning? Partitioning in the sense, Sparks always process the data in the forms of partition. No doubt at all. Without partitioning, the Sparks will never process the data. That's the important features of a Spark. The Sparks will take data in the forms of partition, Suppose if the Spark is taking data from Hadoop, not taking data from where? Taking data from the Hadoop. In Hadoop, all the data is what? All the data in the forms of partition. In SDFS, what you are doing in SDFS? In SDFS, you are creating the block, right? You have block. Each block I am going to call is one partition. Suppose you have a 10 block. 10 block means how many partitions we have? We have a 10 partitions. So in SDFS, by default, we have partitions. We have a partition. So it can process immediately, right? Because there is no need of creating the partition. By default, you are going to have a partition. But if I am taking Cassandra, if I am taking data from the Cassandra database, there we have what? There we have multiple rows and columns will be there. Then I have to create a partition. I should tell that I want 5 partition, I want 10 partition. Because a Spark always process data in the forms of partition only. So you have to create a partition to process the data, right? So here, suppose if you take SDFS, right? In SDFS, if you have a 10 block, say block 1, suppose block 2, suppose block 3, suppose block 4, suppose like this we have a 10 blocks. What does it mean? It means we have a 10 partitions. So I can call it partitions 1, I can call it partition 2, I can call it partition 3, I can call it partition 4 and so forth. So here by default, the Sparks will going to create a partition for you. So if you have a big file, all the files will be divided into a number of partitions and all the partitions will be processed by a number of executors. That is happening in the RDD. So a Sparks means what? By default, the Sparks is configure what? To configure to take only partitions. So you need to have a partitions. Without partitions, the Sparks never process the data. And here, so if suppose this is partitions 1 we have. How many partitions we created now? We created the 10 partitions. So we have a 10 partition. We have a 10 partition. 10 partitions we have. We have a 10 partitions. The 10 partitions we have created. Now this 10 partition, what happens? Now here the Sparks will going to process them in forms of partition. That what drivers will do? Drivers will going to run the logic into the different partitions, right? Because partition means what? We are going to store them into a worker node. From worker node is going to what? You're going to execute them, and for execute them you need what? You need the executors. So what the partitions require what? Is required for the fast processing. And what is use of the partition? If you have more partitions, more parallelism. We are increasing more parallelism. Suppose if I am taking a file of 100 MB, if I am making the 10 partitions, it means I am using more parallelism. If I have a file of 100 MB, if I am making 150 partitions, I am making more parallelism. So partition means what? More parallelism. If you have more partitions, more parallelism. If you have more parallelism, then we have more fast processing speed. So if you want to increase most fast processing speed, we need to have more partitions. If you have more partitions, then more parallelism. More parallelism means more fast processing speed you're going to have. So that's what you're going to have. You're going to discuss in details about the partition also in the next slides. But this is what about the concept of partition. The Sparks always support the partitioning. Partitioning will be supported by the Spark. So if you have more number of partitions, well and good. More partitions, more parallelism, more processing, more fast processing of the speed. Then persistence. Okay, these RDDs are totally reusable. Already I told that. How to reusable this RDD? By using cache. Call as what? Using the cache. It means you have to write rdd dot cache. If you write this, what happens? All of your data is what? Is cached into the main memory or what? Into the disk. So this can be reusable for other operations while executing. So I can reuse this code into other operations. So if I do caching means what? The same code I can reuse for the other operations. That is going to call as what? Persistence. So I am keeping this data in the main memory or hard disk, and this data can be reused for other purpose. That is going to call as what? Going to call as a persistence features. I will explain these details about you. So we will continue in the coming slides.